had a very nice talk prepared, which I read last night, so I was rubbish the way I wrote it. So I haven't really memorised this, so bear with me a second. So my talk tonight is based around a pretty simple question, actually, and it's one that I want to start with you asking yourselves. What are you good at? Well, for many of us, what we're good at actually defines who we are. I often describe myself when asked as an engineer. It tells a listener I'm good at maths, that I'm good at physics, and I have an analytical mind. But it probably isn't surprising then that I studied maths and physics at A level. I'd even call it a safe bet that what you're studying now, and what you studied at A level, and what you want to do in your careers is probably based on what you're good at. And this question is an important one because it leads us down a road of enlightenment in our chosen field. It illuminates our favourite topic within that field and our favourite aspect of that topic, until one day, if you're like me, you might end up in a dusty room contemplating the very finest points of that topic until searching internally for that moment of genius that solves the greatest of problems that nobody else knows we have. But it's actually been my own journey into these great depths of obscurity that got me started asking these questions. Recently, I've had the great pleasure of applying my own field of engineering to paleontology. Now, you might think it's a logical progression for someone who's good at maths and physics to then be good at biology. You might even start thinking that's what my third A level was. Well, I'll let you into a little secret. My third A level was actually German. I enjoyed biology at school, but I was absolutely terrible at it. I dropped it the very first second I was allowed to, because it wasn't what I was good at. So our focus on our strengths allows us to be an expert in a given topic and to progress the understanding of the human race in that topic, or even its application, which is a good thing. I think we all agree it's why we're all here, really, isn't it? But what about everything else? Well, it's not really enough to say that somebody else will be good at it, because at some point we're going to have to start working together, and that means communicating. And in order to communicate, you have to have some sort of common understanding. So let me make an example of that. A good friend of mine works at a very large company in the innovation engineering team. Now their job is to create manufacturing solutions that makes consistent and marketable products to give to their consumers. Now, in one of his projects, the regional brand director, who's a very talented and intelligent and high-up person in the field of marketing, he became concerned that certain segments of the market wanted their product, when operated, to feel stiff and hard-bearing. And other aspects of his market, or other segments of his market, wanted the product to feel smooth and seamless, which aren't necessarily quite compatible. So, not really wanting to make two products, my friend suggested that the marketeers could go out and do a little bit of consumer research and try to find a compromise, and they could do that by quantifying these feelings in terms of newtons, in terms of force that's going to be that's required to operate this product. And the brand manager sat down for a minute and he said that all sounded very reasonable. Except, by his own admission, he didn't know what a newton was. And in school, he'd actually dropped physics at the very second he was allowed to because it wasn't what he was good at. So there's a flaw in our problem. There's a flaw in our question, sorry. And it doesn't really allow us to be academically diverse. It's even led to a key problem within the way that we educate our society, because we modularize everything. In corporate training seminars, in university lectures, even in the way that we split up subjects in primary education, we aim to make our students good at one thing. And more often than not, when we do that, you lose the context and you lose the big picture. So clearly teaching everything together from start to finish is going to be rather impractical, so we're not really going to start doing that. So I suggest that the way that we change our learning, or the key to learning, lies in changing the question. And actually that starts to bring me back to the title of my talk, The Lost Art of Polymath. Our fields, our collective fields, have advanced to such a degree in modern times that it's actually impossible for one person to truly know everything about one sort of umbrella subject. To make an example, the amount of information that would have been required to know everything under the umbrella field of physics in the 19th century is about enough information now to understand maybe even particle physics, maybe even something more specific than that. In the social sciences, somebody who was a social scientist in the 19th century is probably now a psychologist, and there's a whole other branch of social sciences that require even more information to understand. There was even a time when people studied science. They were scientists. And these were the true polymaths. So I think of people like Newton and Leibniz and Galileo. However, it's now possible to understand the complete works of Newton, or at least kind of what they mean or the implications of them, by the time you're 18. But we ignore some or all of it, basically because it's not what we're good at. And in the 21st century, and there's a really nice segue you gave me, by the way, thank you, with the dawn of the digital age, it's possible for anyone in our society to access simple explanations of at least the fundamentals of just about anything. So what's stopping you? Well, thanks to online sources and search engines, I now consider myself a keen amateur in just about everything, not least engineering. I'd even go so far as to describe myself in the traditional meaning world as a philosopher, if only that didn't sound really pretentious. So, I propose a change in our question. What do you find interesting? Well, it sounds like a simple, probably even an obvious change to the question. But the meaning is really quite different. If we study what's interesting to us, we no longer have to be good at it in order to start doing it. We can learn things because we enjoy learning, and we can learn because we enjoy learning about those things, and we can aim to be at a level where we simply have a semi-informed opinion or a semi-informed position from which we can then have a conversation with someone who perhaps knows more about it. And we can do that without feeling embarrassed, because we won't be just because we won't be as good as the person who we're talking to. Furthermore, if we teach with the aim to make our subject interesting, it follows that the success is our students being interested, which means they'll want to go away and learn more. It also means they'll be good at it. But quite possibly the most important thing is that we no longer define ourselves by what we can already do. Rather, we can now define ourselves by our ambitions. So with that in mind, and having introduced myself as Tom the engineer, I, Tom the future scuba diving astronaut beach bum, implore you to rekindle the art of the polymath, and I leave you to ask yourself, what do you find interesting?